What if I told you that right now, at this very moment, you're making a mistake that's silently destroying your body's ability to use oxygen? A mistake so subtle that even fitness enthusiasts, runners, and athletes make it every single day without realizing the damage. You might be training hard, eating right, sleeping well, but there's one thing you're doing that's sabotaging everything. And the worst part? Nobody talks about it. Not your coach, not your training partner, not even the fitness influencers you follow. This silent killer is attacking your VO2 max, which is essentially your body's engine for performance, endurance, and longevity. Scientists have discovered something that's going to change everything you thought you knew about cardiovascular training. Stay with me, because what you're about to learn in the next few minutes could be the difference between reaching your peak performance or watching your fitness plateau forever. The last revelation is going to leave you absolutely speechless. Welcome to a journey that will transform how you think about training, breathing, and performance. Today, we're diving deep into the hidden world of VO2 max optimization. And I promise you, by the end of this video, you'll understand why so many people struggle to improve their cardio despite countless hours of training. Prepare-se para descubrir the one fatal error that's been holding you back, and more importantly, exactly how to fix it starting today. But before we begin, I have a question for you. Comment below right now and tell me which city or country you're watching from. I love seeing our global community come together, and it helps me understand where you're all training from around the world. Are you in New York, Sao Paulo, London, Tokyo, or somewhere else entirely? Drop your location in the comments right now. Now let's get into the science, the truth, and the solution that will revolutionize your training. Let me start by explaining what VO2 max actually means, because understanding this is crucial to grasping why this mistake is so devastating. VO2 max is the maximum amount of oxygen your body can utilize during intense exercise. Think of it as your body's horsepower. The higher your VO2 max, the more oxygen your muscles can use, which means better endurance, faster recovery, and superior athletic performance. Elite athletes have extraordinarily high VO2 max levels. But here's what most people don't realize. VO2 max isn't just about genetics. Yes, genetics play a role, but your daily habits have an enormous impact on whether your VO2 max improves, stays stagnant, or actually decreases over time. And this is where the fatal mistake comes in. The error I'm talking about is so common that it's become normalized in fitness culture. It's hiding in plain sight. The fatal mistake is this: chronic low-intensity training without adequate recovery and proper intensity variation. Let me explain why this is absolutely destroying your VO2 max potential. When you constantly train at moderate intensities, what exercise scientists call the gray zone, you're creating a perfect storm of physiological stress without adequate adaptation stimulus. Your body is working hard enough to accumulate fatigue, generate stress hormones, and deplete recovery resources, but not hard enough to trigger the specific adaptations that improve VO2 max. It's like revving your car engine in neutral. You're burning fuel, creating heat, wearing down components, but you're not actually going anywhere. This gray zone training typically happens at about 60 to 75% of your maximum heart rate. It feels like you're working hard, you're sweating, your heart is pumping, so your brain tells you it must be productive. But here's the brutal truth that research has confirmed time and time again. This type of training is the least efficient way to improve cardiovascular fitness. Studies from leading exercise physiology laboratories have demonstrated that VO2 max improvements come primarily from two types of training: high-intensity interval training that pushes you to 85 to 95% of your maximum heart rate, and true low-intensity training at 50 to 60%, where your body can actually recover and adapt. The middle ground, that gray zone where most people spend most of their training time, provides minimal adaptation benefits while maximizing fatigue accumulation. Norwegian researchers who studied Olympic cross-country skiers, some of the highest VO2 max athletes in the world, discovered something remarkable. These elite athletes spend approximately 80% of their training time at very low intensities and only 20% at high intensities. They almost completely avoid the moderate intensity zone. This is called the polarized training approach, and it's revolutionized how we understand cardiovascular adaptation. Now pense conmigo. How much of your training time are You spending in that gray zone? If you're like most people, probably the majority of it, you go for runs at a pace that feels challenging but sustainable. You do cycling sessions where you're working but not dying. You swim laps at a steady tempo. All of this feels productive, but it's actually the problem. Your body is stuck in a perpetual state of moderate stress without the recovery needed to adapt or the intensity needed to force adaptation. It's a trap, and breaking free from it requires completely rethinking how you structure your training. The science is clear. If you want to maximize your VO2 max, you need to embrace the extremes. Go hard when you go hard, and go easy when you go easy. The middle ground is where progress goes to die. But there's another layer to this mistake that makes it even more insidious. When you constantly train in the gray zone, you're also disrupting your autonomic nervous system balance. Your sympathetic nervous system, the fight-or-flight system, stays chronically elevated. Your parasympathetic nervous system, responsible for rest and recovery, gets suppressed. This creates a cascade of negative effects. Your sleep quality deteriorates because your nervous system can't downregulate properly. Your cortisol levels remain elevated, which interferes with recovery and adaptation. Your immune system gets compromised, making you more susceptible to illness. Your motivation and mental energy decrease because you're in a constant state of moderate stress. And here's the kicker. All of this directly impacts your VO2 max potential because adaptations happen during recovery, not during training. Training provides the stimulus, but recovery is where the magic happens. Without proper recovery, you're just accumulating fatigue without getting the benefits. Comment right now and tell me, have you been training in the gray zone without realizing it? Write yes if this is hitting home for you, or no if you've been doing polarized training. I'm genuinely curious how many of you are making this mistake. And don't worry if the answer is yes, because that's exactly why you're here, and we're going to fix it together. The awareness is the first step toward transformation. So many people are stuck in this pattern, and they have no idea why their fitness isn't improving despite all their hard work. It's frustrating, demoralizing, and completely unnecessary once you understand what's happening. The second block of this mistake involves something that might surprise you: breathing dysfunction. This is a hidden component that almost nobody discusses when talking about VO2 max, but it's absolutely critical. Your VO2 max isn't just determined by how well your heart pumps blood or how efficiently your muscles use oxygen. It's also determined by how effectively you can get oxygen into your body in the first place. And here's where most people have a massive problem: dysfunctional breathing patterns. The majority of people are chronic mouth breathers, especially during exercise. They breathe rapidly and shallowly using their chest rather than their diaphragm. This type of breathing is incredibly inefficient for oxygen uptake and carbon dioxide elimination. When you mouth breathe during exercise, you're bypassing your nose, which is designed to filter, warm, humidify, and regulate the air entering your lungs. But more importantly, chronic mouth breathing during exercise trains your body to have a low tolerance for carbon dioxide. Now, this is counterintuitive, so stay with me. Most people think the urge to breathe during exercise comes from needing more oxygen, but that's not actually true. The primary driver of breathing is carbon dioxide accumulation, not oxygen depletion. When you have a low CO2 tolerance, your breathing becomes rapid and inefficient at much lower exercise intensities. Your brain is essentially sending false alarms, making you feel like you can't breathe when you actually have plenty of oxygen available. This severely limits your ability to sustain higher intensities, which means you can't do the high-intensity training necessary to improve your VO2 max. It's a vicious cycle. Poor breathing patterns lead to low CO2 tolerance, which leads to inability to train at proper intensities, which leads to gray zone training, which leads to no VO2 max improvement. The solution to this component involves nasal breathing training and CO2 tolerance work. Elite endurance athletes have known about this for years, but it's only recently entering mainstream fitness consciousness. When you train yourself to breathe through your nose during low and moderate intensity exercise, you're accomplishing multiple things simultaneously. First, you're forcing yourself to slow down to true low-intensity zones because nasal breathing becomes impossible at gray zone intensities for most people. This automatically helps you avoid the gray zone trap. Second, you're increasing your CO2 tolerance. Over time, which improves your breathing efficiency and allows you to sustain higher intensities when you do your high-intensity work. Third, you're optimizing oxygen uptake because nasal breathing increases nitric oxide production, which improves oxygen delivery to your tissues. It's a win across all dimensions. Research from breathing experts like Patrick McKeown has shown that simple breathing exercises can improve VO2 max by 5 to 15% in just a few weeks, without any change in training volume or intensity. That's an enormous improvement from something as simple as how you breathe. But here's the challenge. Retraining your breathing patterns requires conscious effort and patience. Your body has been breathing inefficiently for years or even decades. It's going to take consistent practice to rewire those patterns. You need to spend your low-intensity training sessions breathing exclusively through your nose, even if it feels uncomfortable at first. You need to practice breath-hold walks and CO2 tolerance exercises. And you need to become aware of your breathing patterns throughout the day, not just during exercise, because chronic mouth breathing during daily activities also contributes to the problem. Agora pense comigo about your own breathing. When you exercise, are you gasping for air through your mouth? During your daily activities, is your mouth open or closed? When you sleep, do you wake up with a dry mouth? These are all signs of breathing dysfunction. That's limiting your VO2 max potential. Comment below right now. I'm a mouth breather, if this describes you, or I breathe through my nose, if you've already got this dialed in. Understanding where you are is essential for knowing what you need to work on. And trust me, the majority of people are mouth breathers who have no idea how much it's holding them back. The third component of this fatal mistake is perhaps the most overlooked: inadequate strength training. Now, you might be thinking, wait, we're talking about VO2 max, which is a cardiovascular measure. What does strength training have to do with it? Everything, as it turns out. Your VO2 max isn't just about your heart and lungs. It's about your entire system's ability to deliver and utilize oxygen. And a huge component of oxygen utilization happens in your muscles. Specifically, in your mitochondria, the cellular powerhouses where oxygen is used to produce energy. The density and efficiency of your mitochondria directly impacts your VO2 max. And guess what significantly improves mitochondrial density and function? Strength training, particularly when done with appropriate intensity and volume. When you neglect strength training or only do minimal maintenance work, you're leaving massive VO2 max gains on the table. Strong muscles are more efficient at using oxygen. They have better vascular networks, meaning more blood vessels delivering oxygen to the working tissues. They have greater mitochondrial density, meaning more sites where oxygen can be utilized. And they're more fatigue resistant, which means you can sustain higher intensities for longer periods during your high-intensity training sessions. This creates a positive feedback loop, where strength training enhances your cardiovascular training capacity, which in turn allows you to train harder and improve more. But most endurance-focused athletes and fitness enthusiasts neglect strength training because they're worried about gaining weight, losing flexibility, or taking time away from their cardio work. This is a critical error. Research has consistently shown that adding 2 to 3 strength training sessions per week to an endurance training program improves VO2 max, running economy, time to exhaustion, and overall performance without adding significant body weight or reducing flexibility. The key is doing the right type of strength training. We're not talking about bodybuilding-style high-volume work with moderate weights. We're talking about neuromuscular strength training with heavy loads and low repetitions, focusing on compound movements that build real functional strength. Exercises like squats, deadlifts, step-ups, and plyometric work that develop power and neuromuscular efficiency. This type of training improves your muscles' ability to generate force efficiently, which means less oxygen cost for any given movement, which directly translates to improved VO2 max and endurance performance. Additionally, strength training provides a powerful stimulus for mitochondrial biogenesis, the creation of new mitochondria in your muscle cells. When you challenge your muscles with heavy loads, you're creating metabolic stress that signals your body to adapt by building more mitochondria. More mitochondria mean greater capacity for aerobic energy production, which is exactly what VO2 max measures. But here's the catch. This only works if you're actually pushing challenging loads. Light weights for high repetitions don't provide sufficient stimulus for these adaptations. You need to be lifting heavy enough that you can only complete 3 to 6 repetitions with good form. That's the sweet spot for neuromuscular and mitochondrial adaptations that will boost your VO2 max. The final piece of this puzzle involves recovery strategies that most people completely ignore. You can have perfect training intensity distribution, optimal breathing patterns, and excellent strength training, but if your recovery is inadequate, you're still going to see minimal VO2 max improvements. Remember, adaptation happens during recovery, not during training. Training breaks you down. Recovery builds you back up stronger. And yet, recovery is the most neglected component of almost everyone's fitness program. People are obsessed with adding more training, more intensity, more volume, but they give almost no thought to optimizing their recovery. This is backwards. Elite athletes understand that recovery is just as important as training, if not more so. They prioritize sleep, nutrition, stress management, and active recovery with the same dedication they bring to their hard training sessions. Sleep is perhaps the most critical recovery tool you have, and it's also the most commonly compromised. During deep sleep, your body releases growth hormone, repairs damaged tissues, consolidates motor learning, and rebalances your autonomic nervous system. All of these processes are essential for VO2 max. Adaptations. Studies have shown that even modest sleep deprivation, just getting 6 hours instead of 8, significantly impairs training adaptations and reduces VO2 max improvements. Chronic sleep deprivation, which affects a huge percentage of the population, essentially makes it impossible to optimize your cardiovascular fitness. Your body simply cannot adapt properly without adequate sleep. The recommendation for athletes and anyone serious about improving their VO2 max is 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep per night, every night, not just occasionally. Nutrition is another recovery factor that directly impacts VO2 max adaptations. Your body needs adequate protein to repair and build muscle tissue, including the cardiac muscle of your heart. It needs carbohydrates to replenish glycogen stores and support high-intensity training. It needs healthy fats for hormone production and cellular function. And it needs micronutrients like iron, which is essential for oxygen transport in your blood. Iron deficiency, even subclinical deficiency that doesn't show up as full anemia, can significantly limit your VO2 max because you simply can't transport enough oxygen to your tissues. This is particularly common in endurance athletes, especially women, who may have adequate iron for normal function but not enough for optimal athletic performance. If you're training hard but not seeing improvements, getting your iron levels checked should be a priority. Você acredita nisso? Write in the comments if you've been neglecting your recovery and focusing only on training harder. So many people fall into this trap of thinking more is always better when it comes to exercise. They push themselves relentlessly, day after day, never giving their bodies the time and resources needed to actually adapt and improve. And then they wonder why their progress has stalled or why they're constantly tired and underperforming. The truth is that training hard is only half the equation. The other half is recovering smart. And when you nail both sides, that's when the magic happens. That's when you see consistent, sustainable improvements in your VO2 max and overall fitness. So let's bring this all together and talk about what you need to do starting today to fix this fatal mistake and unlock your true VO2 max potential. First, completely restructure your training intensity distribution. Adopt a polarized approach where 80% of your training is at truly low intensities, where you can breathe comfortably through your nose and hold a conversation, and 20% is at high intensities where you're pushing 85 to 95% of your maximum heart rate. Eliminate or drastically reduce the time you spend in that gray zone. This means some of your training sessions will feel almost too easy, and others will feel incredibly challenging. That's exactly how it should be. The easy days should feel genuinely easy, and the hard days should be truly hard. Second, fix your breathing. Start practicing nasal breathing during all your low and moderate intensity training sessions. Do dedicated CO2 tolerance exercises several times per week. These can include breath hold walks where you take a normal breath, exhale, and walk as far as comfortable before breathing again, gradually increasing your tolerance over time. Pay attention to your breathing throughout the day and train yourself to keep your mouth closed and breathe through your nose. If you breathe during sleep, consider using mouth tape, which sounds strange but is actually a remarkably effective tool used by many athletes to ensure nasal breathing throughout the night. Third, Add dedicated strength training to your program. Commit to 2 to 3 sessions per week focusing on heavy compound movements. Squats, deadlifts, lunges, step-ups, and upper body pressing and pulling exercises. Keep the repetitions low, 3 to 6 per set, and the loads challenging. This isn't about getting bulky. It's about building neuromuscular efficiency and mitochondrial density that will directly improve your VO2 max. Don't skip this component because you think it's not relevant to cardiovascular fitness. The science clearly shows it is. Fourth, prioritize your recovery with the same dedication you bring to training. Make sleep non-negotiable. Create a consistent sleep schedule. Optimize your sleep environment and protect your sleep time from distractions and obligations. Fuel your body properly with adequate nutrition that supports your training demands. Consider getting your micronutrient levels tested, particularly iron, vitamin D, and B vitamins, which are all crucial for cardiovascular function and adaptation. Manage your stress through meditation, breathwork, or other relaxation practices. Chronic psychological stress interferes with physical recovery and adaptation just as much as inadequate sleep or nutrition. The transformation won't happen overnight. These adaptations take time, typically several weeks to several months before you see significant VO2 max improvements. But if you commit to this approach and stay consistent, the results will come. You'll notice that your easy training feels easier and your hard training feels more productive. You'll recover faster between sessions, your performance metrics will start improving, and most importantly, you'll break through that frustrating plateau that's been holding you back for so long. This is the roadmap that elite athletes follow, and now you have access to the same knowledge and strategies. Here's the profound truth that I want you to walk away with today. Your body is an incredibly adaptive system that responds to the stimuli you provide it. If you provide the wrong stimuli, chronic gray zone training, dysfunctional breathing, neglected strength work, and inadequate recovery, your body adapts accordingly by maintaining mediocre fitness levels and eventually declining. But when you provide the right stimuli, properly polarized training, efficient breathing patterns, comprehensive strength development, and prioritized recovery, your body responds with remarkable improvements that might surprise you. You're not limited by some fixed genetic potential. You're limited only by the quality of the training and recovery strategies you implement. And now you know exactly what those strategies need to be. So here's what I want you to do right now. First, leave a comment below, telling me which of these mistakes you've been making. Is it the gray zone training, the breathing dysfunction, the neglected strength work, the inadequate recovery, or maybe all of them? Be honest with yourself because awareness is the first step toward change. Second, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because we're going to continue this journey together. I have more videos coming that dive deeper into each of these components, showing you exactly how to implement these strategies with specific workouts, protocols, and progressions. Third, give this video a thumbs up if you found it valuable. It helps more people discover this information and fix the mistakes that are holding them back. And finally, click on the video appearing on your screen right now, where I'm going to show you the specific high-intensity interval training protocol that produces the greatest VO2 max improvements according to the latest research. You've learned what not to do. Now it's time to learn exactly what to do. Continue this journey with me, and let's unlock your true potential together. Your best performance is still ahead of you, and now you have the knowledge to reach it. Leave your comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Let's make it happen.